Hi, and welcome everybody to the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Channel. My name is Ross Benjamin. I'm your host. And like every Tuesday morning, I am joined by my two trusted cohorts, Mr. Jesse Schule of GamblersWorld.net, also Mr. Sean Higgs of GamblersWorld.net. I am of GamblersWorld.net, and our sponsor is GamblersWorld.net. Jesse, how was your weekend? Haven't talked to you for a while.
Ross, the weekend was stellar, but I should have quit when I was ahead. Learned my lesson. Don't bet on Monday Night Football just because it's on TV. That's my advice for the day. Stay away from primetime, standalone NFL games and stick to Sundays, where this guy's 11-1 the last 4 Sundays with NFL.
Wow, that's outstanding. Sean, I know that you're on top of the leaderboards the last 30 and 60 days. And also kicking ass in the NFL as well. So how you doing, buddy?
Yeah, just whatever. Doing pretty good. It's been a good last 2 months, and I'm just hoping to keep it going. What's there to say? We got championship week, and we got bowls in another month. Although I want to say, normally I jump on my bowls early. I can't. I can't with all these. The transfers are going to start coming in another week.
Yeah.
And as much as I like to try to outthink and maneuver, I can't. Last year I had a lot of good numbers, and I still end up losing because when 27 guys leave a team that has 57 guys on, you're in trouble, so.
Yeah. And this year too, to keep an eye on, folks, we've seen, I think, 6 head coaches have got fired late in the year.
Yep.
So you got teams that are possibly I'm going to be talking about a game today, the Mountain West Conference Championship game, where a coach got fired with 2 games left, and here they are in the conference championship game, meaning Boise State. But my point being is, when that happens, we're talking an interim coaching staff. We're talking about players that automatically bolt because of the uncertainty of the coaching situation. Are they going to fit into the new coach's plans? That's why teams or universities, I should say, or athletic departments, whatever way you want to specify it, try to when they fire a coach late in the year, they're trying to get a new guy in there right away to clear up that situation, not just to take over, because they don't, but so it brings some clarity to the program in terms of recruiting and what players would opt to do at this particular moment of time. But Jesse, these are types of things that give us a monumental headache at this time of year, and we didn't have to deal with all this just maybe even 5 years ago.
5.
Yeah, I'll probably still try and anticipate some of, like, for example, USC. Do you need to wait to hear that Caleb Williams isn't going to play in a bowl, or are you just going to know that he's not going to, and probably the rest of that team, right? Like, if the line comes out right now and USC is a big favorite in their bowl game on the early line, I'll go against that immediately, anticipating what I strongly suspect is going to happen. So there will be situations like that where I might make an early move.
I would be absolutely shocked if he plays in that game, and I would be absolutely shocked if the odds makers at least didn't put up a safety net in that regard when they initially post wherever they're going. I would believe, Sean, that a guy like Caleb Williams he probably is going to opt out well before any bowl invitation happens.
That'll be baked in. Yeah. That's a common. That's one thing. I'm talking about when all of a sudden you're taking a team like, I think Florida is going to be kind of pumped up here, and all of a sudden, 36 guys leave the team last year or whatever. You might have some exodus out of squads like Colorado. What's going on with that team? Is that not even right? I'm just using that as an example of you see players leaving, and just because I hate saying it's a marquee name because they started the season 3-0 and all of a sudden people had them penciled into the playoffs. But that's kind of stuff you look at, like coaching. Who's you see it already. You see the coaches. Here we go. How about Duke and A&M? That's a good example, right?
Yeah.
Guy leaves Duke, go back to A&M where he's how's Duke going to respond to that?
We sort of predicted that 2 weeks ago, I believe.
Yeah, that was a spot. Why wouldn't they go after the guy who they were winning when he was a coordinator?
I'll give you another specific example here because it's close to home. But Syracuse, they fired Dino Babers with 2 games left. They're bowl eligible. By all accounts, they're going to accept the bowl invitation. You still have not hired a new head coach. The rumor had it that Dan Mullen was the guy they had pegged to try to fill the vacancy, but Dan Mullen turned the offer down. So to me, that speaks volumes. When a guy takes the time to interview and then he says, I just want to let everybody know I am not accepting the head coaching job at Syracuse. So, I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty there, and that's the kind of situation. I'm sure that I would say 3/4 of that roster has their eye on that transfer portal right now because of the uncertainty of the situation. So these are the types of things you have to account for at this time of year when it comes to bowl season. We're not talking about the college football playoffs. We're not even talking about the New Year's Six games where it's a showcase for a lot of these guys. It's the other bowl games. I don't want to say minor because that's disrespectful, but outside of the New Year's Six and the college football playoffs. All right, guys, we got some conference championship games we're covering today. Sean's going to be looking at the SEC championship game between Georgia and Alabama. Right now, Georgia is a 6-point favorite, and the total in this game is 55. Sean, and boy, oh boy, did the Crimson Tide escape with the win over their rival Auburn, and they have life, I guess.
Yeah, well, they have to have a little life, and I gotta say, I got a little life because if I was on the show last week and said about the doctor's boy, man, the Auburn faithful would have been out there killing me because if they were upset that I took them against Cal, they would have really hated what I had to say. Although I partially mentioned it on the Tuesday show about why I liked Alabama in that spot. Listen, hindsight being 2020, maybe say it's Auburn Super Bowl, but where they hadn't had any fight. I shouldn't say that because they put up a fight against this Georgia team as well.
Yeah.
So they played kind of tough there. But all right, enough of it. There's your Auburn. Okay, I was wrong about Alabama last week, Auburn fans. Leave us alone. Let's move on to the new week. I like the over here between these two guys, and is my math and my reading skills bad? Is Georgia going for 30 straight wins? Is that 30 straight wins?
No, that's correct. That's correct.
Haven't lost in
sick, right?
forever. Yeah. But again, let's look at the 55, and both teams were kind of left for dead, right? It's like, oh, Georgia's not that good. They're new quarterback. They're struggling. I've not maybe early because when you're coming off of super seasons, the expectations are always what they are for Georgia and Alabama. The offense is there for them, and Alabama. The defense is not a vintage kind of Alabama defense, and we've been saying this for a couple years now. They give up points, and Alabama, I think, is going to score themselves here. Moro's really come on, right? It is what it is. I'm expecting points. I'm not overthinking this. This is not a 1916 game. This is going to easily one of these guys is going to score 30, whether it's 36-30. Would I be shocked at a 41-31 kind of game? Not at all. I think we're going to see a lot of offense. Georgia, I think, is underrated at the quarterback position. Everybody talks about, Bowers. Okay, they could run the ball. Last week, let's be honest. They were up 31-10 or whatever. It gets close in the fourth quarter. They're just running the ball. They're not looking to get guys hurt. Alabama is in off a dogfight, and we saw Alabama. Let's be honest with the defense again with them. They're down 20-0 at home. They're in, what was that, against Tennessee? They give up points. That's it. They're going to give up points here. 55. I'm actually shocked it was low. I thought I had this pegged around a 58. So give me the over.
All right, Georgia and Alabama over 55 for Sean Higgs. Jesse, this line opened at 4. It's up to 6. Again, I mentioned that Alabama escaped last week with that on that miracle 4th and goal play from the 28-yard line. Late in the game to win that game. And Auburn, again, I have to mention this. Auburn plays Georgia right down to the wire, had Alabama on the ropes and let them off the hook. And the week before that, they get blown out against New Mexico State at home. So if you think it's easy when you start predicting college football, that's why you shouldn't have a short memory, folks. In any event, Jesse, what's your take on this game?
Well, I've been waiting for several weeks now since the resurgence. Who could have predicted the resurgence of Jalen Milroe? But ever since that came to fruit, I did.
Yeah, well, wait a minute. Stop right there. Get that bag of stars out, man. I want to put not one, but 2 stars on your forehead for that one. Go ahead, Jess.
All right, so I did call that, and at that time I was looking ahead to this game, thinking, I bet you're going to be able to get 5.5, 6 points with Alabama in the championship game, and for me, Georgia is a great team. They deserve to be ranked. They deserve to be a favorite. They deserve to be ranked where they're ranked. But part of the aura around them is conceptual, because they didn't play Texas in the non-conference schedule. Alabama's played more tough games in my estimation than Georgia has, and none of Georgia's wins to me would be as impressive as this win against Alabama if they do go on to win this game. So I had been eyeing Alabama, thinking if I could get 5.5 or 6, I'd love Alabama in this game. And then you look to last week against Auburn and say, I don't know, and it's easy to fall out of love with Alabama and say, they didn't look that great. How can they compete with Georgia now? But, you don't want to let recency bias affect the way you're thinking. So I'd have to give a lean. I'm probably not going to be betting on this game as far as a premium pick, but my lean would have to go with Alabama plus the points, thinking that they can compete here.
Yeah, Sean, I think the move from 4 to 6 is an overreaction of what we saw last week, with Alabama barely getting by and Georgia being so dominant as you had mentioned, 30 wins in a row. But I think that Alabama is going to give Georgia everything they can handle, and I would not be shocked to see an outright upset here. Let's put it this way. How difficult could Alabama make it for the playoff committee, Sean, if they win this game? Because you're not going to leave Georgia out.
It's not difficult. They're going to put Alabama in, and they'll put Georgia in. It's not difficult at all for them.
Yeah.
No, it's not. They love SEC teams, so it's not difficult to put them, Georgia, Michigan, and honestly, you'll probably get, if it's an undefeated Washington team in there, and they're not going to put FSU in there. They'll play, Florida State's got a backup quarterback, and they're not as good. Well,
that's what I was going to say. How do you leave an undefeated team out?
Not only that, though, how do you put Alabama in with 2 losses, and they lost games with their starting quarterback, and they played close games and almost lost with their starting quarterback. So that's a whole nother nonsense. But that's exactly what's going to happen. It'll be 2-loss Alabama because they're the champs, Georgia because they were the number 1 team with 1 loss, and they lost to the now number 1 team. And here comes undefeated Washington.
Alabama has not lost 2 games.
One loss.
I'm sorry, 1 loss out. I'm sorry. Yes, 1 loss. I'm saying I'm going to say if they lose here, they could be a 2-loss team and still maybe get in. Yeah. Because you're losing it's a close game.
Absolutely not.
I'm just I've seen strange. Listen, do you trust these? I don't trust the committee. This committee.
But they got a 1-loss Ohio State team that they could sneak.
Exactly. I'm telling you, Florida State is going to get the short end of the stick, which is wrong because of their quarterback. Well, Ross, you don't think they'll get the short end of the stick undefeated Florida State?
Well, they may.
They absolutely will.
I agree with you on that. But
they will.
Which is wrong. The Florida State will get left out.
If you think that if Alabama loses this game, even if they lose it in overtime, that they're going to get in this year, in this particular year. Right now, we're sitting.
It must be those pills he got from the doctor, Ross. They're playing tricks on his mind.
They get in over Texas head to head. Even though they lost to Texas head to head, the committee would put Alabama in there.
So
for sure.
Let me ask you guys this. I agree with Sean. I think Florida State is going to get screwed. You look at the numbers from Tate Rodemaker last week, not impressive. They look like the kind of team that if they did get put in the playoffs, they'd lose by 30 in their first game. Yeah. And so it makes sense, as much as I don't think whether it's right or not, I think that's what the committee would do, and it makes somewhat sense. And I would prefer that to, let's say, a 1-loss Oregon team. If Alabama beats Georgia and then they put Georgia and Bama in over a team like Oregon, that would be a bigger travesty to me than Florida State getting screwed.
Oregon, like I said 3-4 weeks ago, and I've continued to say is the best team in the country. I'm telling you right now, they're on the outside looking in. Look at the line against Washington this week.
It's freaking
Okay,
10 points.
Yeah. I mean, what's that tell you? This team is going to win the national championship.
That's on a neutral.
Yeah.
10 on a neutral. And you
so
lost
if the game was at Washington, they'd still be a 1-point favorite after they've lost to Washington. Look at Washington, their last 8 games, all 8 of those games were decided by 10 points or less, So it's not like they're blowing teams out. And I think that they're asking for Oregon's going to really win this game big. That's my opinion. I don't want to show my hand too much. I haven't made a definitive decision on that, but that line speaks volumes to me. But in terms of Florida State, guys, it's not a given they're going to beat Louisville in the ACC championship game. No. That's a good Louisville team. And, it's too bad for Louisville because they get upset by Kentucky in the regular season finale. They would have had some life, too. Terrible if they would have won the ACC championship game and things would have fell their way. But again, I think that would have fell into the category of Florida State because there's no way they're going to take Louisville over in Alabama. There's no way they're going to take Louisville over a 1-loss Oregon team. But having said that, my point being, Sean, it's not a given that they're going to and Jesse, it's not a given that they're going to beat Louisville for crying out loud.
No, it's not a given at all. But I'm still concerned about Oregon, Ross, with what Sean said and what we all think that if Alabama beats Georgia and then you got those 2 SEC teams that likely make it, and you've got Michigan, and then you've got a 1-loss Texas team and a 1-loss Oregon team. The committee doesn't like the Pac-12. How does a 1-loss Texas team get left out if they beat Alabama? So if you put Alabama in, you almost have to put Texas in to justify the fact that Alabama's in. I mean, people out west would be burning cities down, I think, but I could still see it happening.
I don't know. I got to believe that part of the equation also for Oregon is the eye test. And I can't believe that if you look the eye test on Oregon and what Bo Nix has done at quarterback this season and the explosiveness, and let's not forget, this is an Oregon team. This is probably their best defensive team they've ever had, even through the glory years. I mean, this is a good defensive group, too, for Oregon. And Dan Lanning made his mark.
What glory years?
As a defensive coordinator. Yeah.
What are their glory years? They won a national championship? I don't remember if they won a national championship.
Well, I'm not saying glory years.
I know what you mean.
They seem to be, there's been a lot of teams that have contended for a national championship, and they've had a lot of winning years under Chip Kelly and the prior regime. So
who's that? Bellotti and Riley?
Yeah, I mean, there's been really good Oregon teams that we've seen over the last 2 decades, guys. I mean, again, no, are they in the same class of an Alabama or Georgia in terms of top of the mountain? They're not even in the same class as Florida State when it comes to national championships or whatever the case may be. But in any event, Sean, tell the folks a little bit about why they should buy from you over at gamblersworld.net and what you may have coming up this week.
Yeah. Why not? If you look at the leaderboards, when I throw out hockey and NBA, we win a lot more than we lose. In college NFL football, nice seasons. I know they're wrapping up. But there's still money to be made out here. I have games up for Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Thursday. I got Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Packages already up on the board. Games loaded up on the site. College hoops. I got 7 college basketball 7-pack today for $44 for college basketball. Again, trucking along. I'm 52-54 in college hoops, so I'm going to tell you we have the win-loss record. You know how we do. So looking at turn that around like I did with football in both pro and college. A little slow out of the gate, and then there we go. We hit our stride. So,
yeah, exactly. So Sean is a notorious volume handicapper that wins. Bottom line. If you don't believe it, look at the leaderboards over at gamblersworld.net. He's on top of at least 3 of them. And then if you go into specific categories like the NFL and college football, he's right there. And I can assure you at the end of the year, college basketball, he's going to make some type of run. So get in when right now he's treading water in college basketball. But like I said, when you have a guy with, and we talked about this with Jesse a couple weeks ago, when a guy is struggling or treading water and has a track record of winning in a specific sport or all sports, it's just a matter of time before they go on a run. And look at what Jesse has done over the last couple of weeks. Same thing could be said with Sean, who started out the football season slow, started out on the site slow because he didn't do well in Major League Baseball over the last month and a half. But the bottom line is, look where they are now. So anyway, you can find Sean Higgs over at gamblersworld.net, folks. Don't forget subscription plans, 3-day, $99, 7-day, $199, 30-day, $399. All of those are guaranteed that if you don't make a profit over that course of time, we will credit your account back the exact amount you paid for that specific package. In addition, all our single game and multi-game packages are also guaranteed in that regard. Jesse, let's get to you, my friend. And you're going to be looking at the Big 12 championship game between Oklahoma State and Texas. Right now, Texas is a 14.5-point favorite in the total 55. Texas coming off that demolition last week of Texas Tech, 59-7, I believe it was, or 55-7, somewhere in that area. But this is a dangerous Texas team. Since losing to Oklahoma, they've been playing with a chip on their shoulder. What do you got for us here, Jesse?
Well, Ross, I do like Texas, but this line opens at 11. I see 15s on the board now. Do you think perhaps some recency bias is at play? There's no way I can bet into a line like that. I will opt out of taking the point spread. I'm going to look at the team total for Texas. Oklahoma State rattled off that impressive 5-game winning streak in the middle of the season with wins over Kansas State, Oklahoma, and Kansas. Clearly, when they're at their best, they're a competitive team. Mike Gundy's obviously been great as a double-digit dog in his career. And, I said recency bias. Last week, they looked like doggy doo-doo against BYU. But you look at their quarterback, Bowman. He's averaged 303 passing yards per game in his last 5 games. The problem is he throws 4 touchdowns and 7 picks in those games. If he continues to turn the ball over, obviously that's going to cost Oklahoma State. Texas will win this game running away. But I don't want to be in a position where I'm banking on him turning the ball over or not. And as long as he's throwing for 300 yards, keeping this game moving and the score high, I like Texas's chance of going over the team total of 34.5. Oklahoma State's got a great running back, but you look at Texas ranks first in the Big 12 against the run. They're only allowing 85 yards per game on 2.9 yards per carry. That tells me that Oklahoma State can't come in here and think they're going to run the ball. They've got to pass, and that'll keep the pace of the game at a good pace and keep points coming one way or the other. If they turn the ball over, that's just more points for Texas. So over 34.5 points, and that number opened at 34.5. It's been bet. The juice has been bet up, so it's juiced minus 140 odds on that team total. But that's the way I choose to play this game, Ross.
Okay, Texas team total over 34.5 at money line odds of minus 140. You look at Oklahoma State. I mean, they've given up 32 points or more in 7 of their last 10 games. And now they're playing a high-powered Texas offense. Texas has scored, let's see here, 30 or more, I should say. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 to 12 games, Sean. So Jesse, I think is onto something there.
And I was going to say, the total here is 55.5.
Yeah.
And if you're giving up 34 to BYU, who's had a terrible year, you gave up 30 to Houston, who just fired their head coach, 45 UCF, 34 West Virginia, 34 Iowa State. What are you going to get out of? Let's go all the way back to Alabama game, Southern Alabama, 33-7. I thought this team was going to be like a 5-win team anyway this year. So they turned it around after they switched quarterbacks over their bye week. But Texas, as we've said since the beginning of the year, this is a team with a defense, right? That's kind of, you're going to be able to make a stop or two. Why wouldn't this game play out 41-24, over the total? I like Jesse's spot on taking the team total over, because if they can't run the ball, they're going to chuck it and they're going to be down. Let's go. I like it. I like over for the game. Why not do the team total? And again, with the Texas, 11.5, sure. 12, sure. 13, 14.5, 15s. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one thing if it opened. If it opened at 14.5, I'd be like, oh, I'm all over Longhorn. I don't care about it. It's like the Oregon game, right? You had 7.5s, and then all of a sudden it's 9s.
Yeah.
Big difference.
You very easily can get backdoored here, right, Sean?
Yeah, 11.5 to 15, 14.5. It's not 7 and 9. You could still win, 34-24. This is, an extra touchdown you need on there to drive that back door. You got to be up, you got to be in the 40s to save that back door when you're laying 15 points. Yeesh.
Yeah. Or you look at Oklahoma State. Here's one concern I have when it comes to siding with Oklahoma State in this game is they turned the ball over 12 times in their last 6 games.
Yeah,
and they managed to win 5 of those 6. And that's because they've also, during that course of time, they've also created 13 turnovers. So they're actually a +1. Now, that formula is not going to continue to win for you.
Not against a team that's ranked in the top 5. It's one,
right? Not against
a win over Oklahoma is one thing, but I mean, come on, West Virginia, Houston, BYU. These aren't top 10 teams. They're not top 40 teams.
No, and Texas has only turned the ball over 13 times all season. All right, which is one more than Oklahoma State's done in the last 6 games, and Texas turnover margin is tremendous. So. That you can't count that out. I mean, you look at, they gave up 34 points to BYU last week, meaning Oklahoma State. They only got I should say BYU only had 327 yards of total offense in that game. But that's where sometimes turnovers factor in. And I just, that formula, when I look at it, I could see why this line is what it is. And I'm not sold on Oklahoma State. I know they had a nice run at the end of the year. This is still a team that lost to South Alabama at home early on, 33-7. And like Sean just alluded to, it's not like they played Murderers Row down the stretch. They played their last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games. I think Sean mentioned this. West Virginia, Cincinnati, Oklahoma, okay. They win the Oklahoma game 27-24 at home. At UCF and at Houston. Not exactly top quality teams in the Big 12. Jesse, anything you want to add to this?
Yeah, like I said before, I don't want to get involved in trying to predict how many times Oklahoma State's going to turn the ball over. And that's why I'm trying to talk people off of taking Texas minus the 14.5, because if their quarterback their quarterback's slinging it for 300 yards a game, if they don't turn the ball over, they're probably going to be somewhat in this, within 14 points without the turnovers. That's what I see from this game. If they can play a clean game, they got a good chance to hang around. And I don't want to have to count on them to turn the ball over. So I'd rather, like Sean said, the total 55.5 over that number, or even better, the team total 34.5.
Yeah, you don't count on turnovers. You're just looking at a team tendency, and if that's the kind of thing that if it lasts that long, it's a problem. You know what I mean? And you can't bank on the fact that that's going to stop just because they're in the championship game. So, in any event, Jesse, tell the folks exactly why they should spend their money with you. And there's a lot of reasons why that I could think of, but it's better coming from you than from me.
Yeah, we swept the board with the NFL on Sunday once again. Perfect 3-0 sweep. 11-1 the last 4 Sundays. 12-4 now after Monday Night Football with our NFL in the month of November. November has been a great month football-wise. Overall, we've really cleaned things up. I'm feeling like I'm in the zone. I made a mistake yesterday though. Like I said, the rule of thumb is for NFL and college football. If you wouldn't bet it on a Saturday or a Sunday, don't bet it on a Monday or a Tuesday or a Thursday. And I'm usually pretty good at staying away from those games, but I didn't do it yesterday and I paid the price. But like I said, 11-1 the last 4 Sundays. So you probably want to look at my Sunday card. I've already got 3 games posted at gamblersworld.net. So that's where I'm standing.
All right, Jesse Schule, gamblersworld.net. Like all of us, our picks are guaranteed. All single game and multi-game daily packages and subscription plans of 30 days or fewer. You must win. You must make a profit, or we will credit your account back the exact amount of the purchase price you paid for that specific package or daily package, whatever the case may be. And I'm going to be looking at the Mountain West Championship game between Boise State and UNLV. Before I get to that, real quickly, all sports run for me going all the way back to August the 4th, 58%, folks. Dime players up $35,265. College football since December 2nd of last year. We're going on a year now. 68 and 46, good for 60%. My NBA sides had just been on fire since April 11th of this year. It's going back to last season, obviously, but 48 and 19, 72% on my NBA sides. College basketball totals, 55 and 34, going all the way back to February 16th of 2022. So when I put out college basketball totals, it's like E.F. Hutton. You should quiet down and listen and play and win. And the dime players with those college basketball totals over that course of time are up $17,750. Just a friendly reminder too, folks, if you have not subscribed, you'll see a WC logo in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen if you're on your PC. And you'll also, if you are on your smart TV or your mobile device, you will see a black subscribe button. Just click on either of those, and that'll get you subscribed. It's absolutely free to do so. There's no strings attached. There's no hidden agenda. And take an extra second to go into your YouTube settings, and that goes for any of you out there who have subscribed and haven't done this already. Go into your YouTube settings and click on that alert notification bell for the Winner's Circle Sports Betting channel, and you'll be notified immediately upon us releasing any of our podcasts on our great channel. All right, UNLV is at home here. I mean, they're playing in, what do they call that? Reliance Stadium, I guess, is the new facility there in Las Vegas. Beautiful facility at that. But UNLV is plus 2.5 at home, and the total is 58.5. Boy, that really surprises me because you're looking at a UNLV team that's 9-3. And a Boise State team that fired their head coach with just 2 weeks left in the regular season. And here's Boise State going on a 3-game win streak, and it's 7-5 with an interim head coach is a road favorite in a conference championship game against a team that has a better record than them. Okay, so but I'm not going to touch the side at this particular moment in time. Even though it's inviting for me to take Boise State because of everything I just mentioned. Having said all that, I'm going to look at the total. And Boise State, I'll keep it real simple, folks. Boise State has scored 27 points or more in their last 10 games, and they average 34.9 points scored per game over those last 10 contests. They've also amassed 394 yards or more in all 12 of their games this year. Their 3 toughest games in terms of strength of schedule were played against Washington, Central Florida, and Memphis. And in those 3 games against those tougher competition, they allowed 36.3 points per contest and 518 yards per game. So when they step up in competition, and I'm not trying to imply that UNLV is in the same class with Washington, but they're not far behind, if not on even par with UCF and Memphis right now. So, again, when they've had to step up against quality competition, they've been torched defensively. UNLV has scored 31 points or more in their last 4, 8 of their last 10. Offensively, 399 plus yards in 11 of 12 games this year. So they've moved the ball consistently. And the only exception And that the one game they didn't reach the 399 plus yards was at Michigan in game 2. Michigan makes a lot of teams look bad offensively, folks. Defensively, over their last 2 against San Jose State and Air Force, concerning. Gave up 34 points a game and 443 yards per contest. I like this game to go over the total, boys. I'm going to go Boise State UNLV over 58.5. Sean?
Yeah, this game, you want to take UNLV, right? Great season. Odom, great job. But to me, this is like this screams to take Boise. I don't know. I don't have anything on it. It didn't jump anywhere for me. I don't know. Again, I would lean Boise just because I think everyone wants to take UNLV. Nice love story there. And I got to say, though, the E.F. Hunt comment, I had to do a quick look. I don't know if we should really. I think they've been out of. I know they're back. They brought the name back, but they actually went down to like 89 and was like rebrought by somebody. So yeah, EF Hunt talks people listen. I remember the commercial, but they have not been around for like 20 something years, Ross. People are
like, you always have to remind. It's a cliche, but
but you know what? Like
it's an analogy.
I know the cliche. I know it. I know the commercial. EF Hunt talks people listen.
Yeah, and Alabama's going to be in the national, and Alabama's going to be in the college football playoffs with two losses too. Come on.
Listen, I'm not saying I'm a smart. I'm just saying we got to. I get it,
bro.
I say all types of
commercials.
Jesse will tell you he's in the show. I do midday Monday. I always bring up like 80s kind of stuff. I'm like, people are like, "What the hell are you talking about, man?" Like, I mean,
you know what?
I like it, Ross. I'm all nostalgic.
Yeah,
I get it.
No, you just like giving me a hard time. That's what you like, and I like
because I'm like a younger Ross. I'm just like an *80s Ross, and you're like a *50s.
I know you are. Anyway, Jesse, I know what you were thinking when I was going into this game. My opening statements in terms of this matchup. And I know that you were thinking Ross is going to pull the trigger on Boise State. He's leading us right down that path. But anyway, what do you think of this matchup?
I was also thinking back to week 1. We did a show on the game between Washington and Boise State. Yeah. And I had said in that game that Boise State ranked first in the Mountain West against the pass and one of the best pass defenses in the country last year. However, when you looked at their schedule, they played a bunch of Mountain West teams like Wyoming and such that only run the ball. And the only team that they played that had a quarterback was Fresno State and Jake Haener. And Haener was injured when they played Fresno State. So it was a completely fraudulent statistic. Yet everybody was touting this is the #1 passing defense in the Mountain West. And that sure did come to fruition against Washington. And so I was basically thinking about finding a way to toot my own horn when you asked me what I thought.
As usual.
And that would conclude my thoughts.
Let me know when you're running out of those stars in that bag I sent you, so I could send you more. But in any event, your point's well taken, Jesse. I'm just joking. But in any event, the official pick on the game is from me. It's on Boise State and UNLV over 58.5. And another thing to look at in this game, folks, and why I might lean toward Boise State at this particular juncture in time, albeit everybody knows when I see a fishy line like this, and if you listen to my opening statements, it led you down that path, like I told Jesse. But also look at the yards that UNLV has given up on the ground of late, and then look at Boise State's running game in recent times. So I think that Boise State is going to be able to run the ball at will against UNLV. Just a matter of UNLV could create some turnovers or get them in some stop them on early downs because it's going to be a long day for their defense if they don't. In any event, our picks once again, Jesse likes the Texas team total over 34.5 against Oklahoma State in the Big 12 championship game. That over 34.5 is at money line odds of -140. And when the juice gets that high, when it comes to a team total like that, they're on the verge of moving it to 35. So I would get down on that early. And also Sean likes Georgia, Alabama over 55. in the SEC title game. And once again, Boise State, UNLV over 58.5. So 3 overplays, which is unusual for us 3 for your free picks. Again, those games go on Saturday, December the 2nd. Don't forget to check out our video from yesterday, our podcast, I should say, with me and Doug Upstone. We covered the 2 Friday games, gave you some free picks there. Jesse and Sean will be back with me tomorrow morning. We'll be talking college basketball. Some pretty intriguing matchups involving 6 teams that are ranked in the top 25. I'll be back later this afternoon with Paul Bovey and Chip Chirimbus, and we'll be talking more college football conference championship games then, 3 p.m. Eastern time. Again, that will be on archive. And don't forget to put in your calendar, folks, Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern time, every Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern time, us 3 on our live portion of the show where you could chime in with all your comments and questions. Until the next time.
Hold on a second. You got Chip coming on, so you guys can go. You can go old school. You could do some Juan Valdez commercials. Talk about Sanka, maybe the McDLT from the '80s. Maybe McDLT. Anybody?
Jesse.
Smash that like button.
Smash that like button, folks. Just a small token of appreciation for the time, work, and effort we put into bringing you a quality podcast each and every day and making you a smarter sports better today than you were yesterday. Take care and God bless, folks.